Okay. Let's see. All right. Looks like we're live. Yeah, it's freezing down here.
Yeah, the difference in temps in my house is ridiculous.
It'll be okay. I'm gonna start recording. Hey, brush your hair, okay? Okay. All right. Here we go. Hi, and thanks for downloading this episode of the IVMV podcast. This episode is brought to you by Green Chef. For $50 off your first box of Green Chef, go to greenchef.us/Ivy. Well, on the last episode, we said that this Dodgers series was going to be a measuring stick series, and I think the results were pretty good. The Cubs took the series 2-1. On this episode, we'll talk about those games. We'll step back and look at how some players how they're doing after the first 4 weeks of the season. We'll share some thoughts on Addison Russell's Iowa assignment and imminent return, and we will preview the upcoming series in Arizona. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Corey, and I am joined by one other host. It's Andy. How's it going, Andy?
Hi, not too bad, thanks.
Good. We're heading into Friday. This is strange to do it. I don't know. I guess sometimes we do it on Thursday nights, but
That's one of my favorite sentences, and I can ever hear is we're heading into Friday.
That's true. You know what one of my favorite sentences is, Andy?
I ordered pizza.
No, it's haters are like parrots. You know, they talk much, but they can't fly.
I had to say that right when I had a drink in my mouth.
We don't do inside jokes on the podcast very often, but so I was at Taco Bell tonight. That's my Thursday night meal in between practices and everything. And there was a guy in the standing in line, and he was wearing a shirt that said, haters like parrots talk much but can't fly. Dreamers like eagles say nothing but conquer the skies. And parrots fly. Parrots do fly. I needed that so bad when it was just the highlight of my day. So
I want we could get ourselves some of that, a shirt like that.
You cut out.
I would wear that all the time. I was just saying, like, let's see if we can get a hold of that shirt to wear ourselves.
Right, yeah. I should have asked him where he got it.
Yeah, where'd you get it?
I don't think I want to know. I don't know.
Had it made.
I'll start this episode off with the scary stat. And we've recently kind of focused on pitching here on the podcast because the pitching, specifically starting pitching, has been so dominant, since John Lester went down with injury. And so this morning I was thinking about just how productive this offense has been and how you would expect the offense to maybe start a little bit slower than pitching. To start a series, especially considering 4 series, 12 games of the first 22 games have been played at Wrigley. And Chicago in April doesn't really scream offensive production usually. But it feels like the offense has been, just really clicking as a whole. And so I decided to see how the 2019 Cubs offense compares to the March/April production. That would be the, it would be the third highest scoring rate in the history of the organization. And it might be tough.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were, before today's 1-run game, they were on pace to be the second highest scoring rate in the history of the organization. But the record's going to be tough to break. The 2008 team scored 171 runs in 27 games. So that is 6.33 runs per game. Yeah.
And if we could time travel back to 2008, we really, I wonder, like, if I felt like that was going to be the year.
I think we did. I mean, I think, like, looking back on 07 and 08, I just think how that team did in the playoffs. I think that really just kind of like tainted how we remember like those 2 years. You know,
Yeah.
it was they didn't win a single playoff game, got swept by the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. And so I just think like it's really hard to think back, and you know that those were strange teams too, looking back on them, because even at the time we knew like the window was closing quickly. And I think that's what made those you know, those quick departures in the postseason so difficult to stomach, was because we knew like, okay, it was a lot different than 2015, you know, 2017, 18, even, you know, even right now, like you still feel like there is a window there where like, I feel like in 2008, if we knew that, yeah, that's pretty much it. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
that
mean,
was such a
it
fun
had
team.
to have been fun to be me, you know, watching the Cubs during the regular season
Mm-hmm.
back then. I don't really remember, but
Well, wasn't that the year of like the big like Soriano or Ramirez remember he hit that walk off, like I think it was against the Pirates, and like there was that picture that was on all the calendars and everything with like Soriano jumping and stuff and Derek
yeah.
Lee in there, and yeah. And then the funny thing is we started the podcast the next year, like months after that early departure in 2008. We decided
So
to fire up these mics for the first time, and
we must have been pretty inspired then by that season.
yeah, but that was I mean, that was just a you know, I remember it being like a dominant team throughout the season.
Yeah, well, and then that scary stat confirms.
Yeah, yep. So, and then the 2003 team, they scored 5.5 runs per game. So the Cubs are kind of right there with that 2003 team as far as, you know, run production in the first month of the season. And here's a bonus scary stat: the Cubs have 29 home runs after Almora's home run today. 29 home runs in 22 games. That is an average of 1.3 home runs per game. And if that trend continues here for the next 4 games, that would be the best March/April home run rate in the history of the organization. Which it kind of feels like that's the you know, that's the case probably for a lot of teams right now. I mean, just given how home runs are up across the league, I would guess that's kind of the case. Probably.
But man, it's sure, as you look at the offense, it doesn't seem like I just because of the guys that are in slumps, it doesn't seem like it should be this good.
Right. Yeah. And we'll get into that, but yeah, you're right. I mean, 2 of the players that you would expect to probably lead the team in home runs really haven't produced in a way. Like if I were just to tell you a month ago, hey, through 22 games the Cubs will have 29 home runs, you would think Kris Bryant went on a tear probably.
Oh yeah, like Kris Bryant has 10 home runs, you know, like you'd think maybe double digits for him already.
Right. Yeah. And you would expect Contreras and Baez to probably be near the leaders, but you wouldn't yeah, they're Rizzo, Bryant, you would expect those names probably to be at the top. But so let's dig into this Dodgers series. It's been a pretty good week so far for the Cubs. I you know, I was really looking forward to this Dodgers series, like I said at the top of the show, because I thought it was kind of a measuring stick series. And you know, when you looked at the March/April schedule, the Dodgers are the strongest team on that in that first month of the season. And so I'm really just thrilled with a series win. And I think there were several positive takeaways from this series. And overall, I mean, how this team has played in the last couple of weeks, it's leaving me feeling pretty good about the team. And they started the season losing their first 3 series, each of them 2-1, and since then they've won 4 straight series. With another one, the Angels series split, and that makeup game is on June 3rd. So I mean, you know, basically 4. I'm going to go ahead and give them the Angels series 5. But I don't know, how are you feeling about things right now, Andy?
Pretty good. I mean, I feel like you asked me the same question last week after the Marlins series, and I feel better now. You know, they swept the Marlins and they took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. I feel better now that they've played this well against a team like the Dodgers. You So even, playing well against the Diamondbacks, this was the series, like you said, I had sort of circled mentally and on the calendar for the Cubs this month, and I feel good about what they did overall, and I'm feeling good about the team right now for the most part. Having Lester back right now is good timing for him to join the pitchers who have suddenly gotten pretty on track, I guess. And the Cubs have some fairly hot hitters in the lineup right now. But it's not feeling good about the team without reservations. There are still some troubling slumps that are persisting. What happens if if Baez and Contreras kind of go cold. And I don't feel that comfortable about the bullpen still. Take Wednesday's game for example. That should have been a comfortable win, I feel, after the heroics of Jason Hayward and Javier Baez. But then, Cishek has that really rough inning, and the Dodgers are able to climb back into it. But and then Strop walks Muncy to start the ninth inning. I was pretty worried at that point.
That's not all the walking Strop did after that game.
Yeah.
He had to walk home. I don't think he actually walked home, but
yeah,
he didn't have a car to drive home.
Yeah, he got his car stolen.
I shouldn't laugh about it because,
Well, it's kind of easier to laugh about when he's posting pictures all the time of him standing next to like a Lamborghini and stuff, but certainly like you don't want to, you don't wish that on anyone.
I saw him interviewed about it. He seemed pretty laid back about it.
Yeah, but I wish I could give credit to this joke, but somebody made this joke. I think it was on Twitter, or maybe it was even Reddit, but it was that the police had no trouble tracking down the vehicle as they found one that kept pulling to the left. Something like that. Yeah, they worded it better, but anyway, he was able to finally seal it with the double play, and he got the save and then went back to work on his stolen car. But yeah, overall, I mean, yeah, with reservations, I feel pretty good about the team right now.
Sorry. Hey, sorry. Hold on just a second. Hey, Mallory, just go ahead and throw it outside. Have Tegan do it, please. Sorry. I'm solo parenting here this week, so sorry.
It's all good.
Hey, Tegan, will you throw that cat outside? Okay.
So I wanted to talk about, a little more specifically the performance of the starting pitchers in this series. And man, I am having fun watching Jose Quintana. And I tried to find my Scherzer the other day, and I can't find it. It's like it was okay for it to stay buried, sometimes last season, but I'm not sure where it is now, and I want that thing to see the light of day right now. But he kept his streak of good starts alive. He's had 3 great starts in a row, and he's gone 7 innings in each one. So giving the Cubs some length, when the bullpen has struggled is a big deal.
Right.
And he's only given up 2 earned runs over those 21 innings. He struck out 25 and walked only 3 over those 3 starts. I mean, those are killer numbers.
Did you heading into this season, did you think we would see anything? Like, it felt like we always knew that like Q had that potential, but I kind of gave up on seeing, like, I just thought like he's going to be good, but I didn't really think we would get to see this. And so it's been like a real pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I thought we would see more regularly. I think I've said that before in the podcast when they got him, So I knew he was able to do this, but certainly starting to get worried that we would never see this level of greatness, really. And so this has happened, all this has happened, these 3 games, after only going 11 innings total over his first 3 starts. So he's shown us, the other side of him too, but he's really turned it around, and his turnaround has helped the team as a whole get on track too, I think, and so I wanted to say too, Hamels along with Quintana had really been carrying this team, but his momentum hit a bit of a wall on Wednesday. It wasn't even though, he kind of escaped with only having surrendered 3 earned runs, he tied his career high walks in a game with 6. I thought that was kind of an interesting
That's
number.
yeah, because I mean, given how long his career has been, that's really impressive that his career high is 6.
Yeah,
You would think he would just have
hit me
like
the same way.
some strange outlier that would, maybe have like 8 or I don't know.
That preceded an injury or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But and I was thinking he could even escape the 6th inning, which is um where Bellinger hit that 2-run shot. He walked Pollock, and I was like, well, maybe he can get Bellinger to roll over a ball or something and get out of this inning. But Bellinger hit that 2-run homer to make it 3-0. But thankfully, his team picked him up, specifically Baez and Hayward with those same inning 3-run homers. That was thrilling. That was one of the most fun games I've watched as well this season. There was one other one I'm trying to remember, but this one was pretty great. And then just last but not least, Lester also had a good outing. And
I thought it was a good comeback outing. It was
What's
like
that?
I thought it was a good comeback outing. Come
Yeah.
back from injury, and I don't know if he like looked quite as sharp as he did. I was kind of like I watched a couple of innings, and I had to listen to some on the radio, so I was kind of in and out of the game. But it felt like he didn't look quite as sharp as he did. But I mean, and I don't have his final line in front of me. But it seemed like that was a pretty good. After missing the equivalent of 2 starts, I guess, I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he went 5 in that game. Yeah, I mean, he easily could have looked a lot rustier, than he did. And so he didn't walk anyone. That was another part of that start that stood out to me. And he got 5 strikeouts, only gave up 1 run, so certainly you'd like to see him go a little deeper, but outside of that, I thought it was pretty great as far as coming off of an injury.
Yeah,
and it put the team in a position to win that game, even though they did it. But yeah,
well,
so
the offense
I don't know.
didn't really.
I mean,
the offense didn't do anything to help him.
Right.
Well, the offense had a lot. I mean, there was a lot of traffic on the base paths. I don't have the box score in front of me, so I don't know what like their runners in scoring position batting, how they did with runners in scoring position. But there were multiple people. They had multiple guys on base. What, 4 in 4 different innings, I think. So there was a lot of traffic. They just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating, but I mean, fortunately,
but you're going to get
we
those
haven't
games,
had too many games like that.
Right, and you're going to get those. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
And you just hope they're few and far between. And if Rizzo and Bryant are able to get more on track, then they will be.
Yeah.
Pretty far and few and far between.
Right. Well, that was a good segue. So in the scary stat segment, I talked about how productive the offense has been, and I think it's worth mentioning that they've largely been hitting home runs and scoring runs without a lot of help from 2 players that you would kind of expect to carry the team offensively. So obviously I'm talking about Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo. So Bryant, before today's game, he was hitting 238, 358, 375. He had a WRC plus of 101. So he's essentially league average right now. Rizzo's WRC plus is 115, so a little better, but some of that is coming from his OBP and walks and hit by pitches, because Rizzo is hitting, again, this is before today's game, but 205. And so the fact that the Cubs are scoring and hitting for power at a near record pace, and Rizzo isn't playing a role in it at all. Well, not at all, but isn't playing the largest role in it. Like, I think that says a few things. First, I think it says that the team is deep, and do
you think the market is saturated with Rizzo souvenirs? Like maybe there's the demand isn't there or something.
Yeah, I don't think Rizzo is as much of a thing as it was a couple years ago.
No,
I don't know.
It isn't.
But I said Rizzo to save myself time, and then we talked about it for 20
It's a real
seconds.
time saver. But anyway, you were talking about the depth of the team.
Yeah, so I think that the team is deep, and there are some players who are doing incredible things right now, like Contreras and Baez. And secondly, I firmly believe that both Bryant and Rizzo will heat up. And I think that might just happen when some other players start to cool off a bit. Like Hayward too. Let's throw him in there. With the team, the players that are doing really productive right now. But also I think like it's you kind of are dealing with a superstar like Chris Bryant when it feels like he's really scuffling and struggling, and he's slightly over league average.
Yeah.
That really says something. And I think like when you think about players who aren't really performing very well right now, I think you can also throw Schwarber in there too. Before today's game, he was hitting 191, 257, 338, and that is a WRC plus of 57. So again, that's normalized, so it's 100 is league average. So so those are three players who aren't really producing right now that I think will heat up. And it wouldn't surprise me, like I said, if that happens when some of these other guys cool off a bit. But I do, it's poor timing to bring this up. But there's one other player not producing at all, although he hit a home run today. And
so I wanted to mention you. Okay, go ahead. I'll bring this up in a sec.
Well, I just I think like that today, his home run in the 9th inning, that was his first extra base hit of the season. He's I guess like when I think about Albert Almora, I have way less faith in him rebounding in a big way as compared to Schwarber. I would say like my confidence is probably like Bryant, Rizzo, Schwarber, and then Almora, like way, way, way down. And there are reasons for that. I mean, the ground ball rate and the fact that he doesn't take walks. He doesn't really, he's just lots of reasons. But before today's game, Andy, and it's going to be skewed, or it's going to be wrong because he hit a home run today. But any guesses as to what his WRC plus was heading into today's game?
I'm gonna guess sub 50.
9.
Whoa! I didn't know they went that low. It's pretty low right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even about his home run, like it was a really predictable pitch, I think. Why wouldn't Jansen challenge Almora,
right.
with 2 outs in the inning, and he hasn't done anything. And, he's not going to hit a 2-run homer with no one on base. So Jansen is kind of predictable in that spot.
Right. He's going to challenge him.
Right. And so Almora predicts it, and it's like kind of a no-brainer and puts a good swing on it. So, I mean, it was nice to see him hit a home run.
Sure. Yeah.
But, still, I don't think it was, I don't know. I don't think it was necessarily like a fantastic sign that, everything's going to be better.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I just, I really do think that, I think his batting average last year, I think you can really credit how Madden used Almora as far as, using him against lefties and in favorable matchups for him. I mean, he was hitting over 300 for a really good stretch. But it just kind of felt like, I don't know, fool's gold, I guess. And I think that I think Albert Almora is a really good 5th outfielder and a good 4th outfielder. And that's
he's a fantastic, defensive player.
Yeah, and I just don't think he brings much else. And so, and that was like, if you listen back to our first few episodes of this season, I really didn't like him in the leadoff spot because, he doesn't really get on base very much. He
strikes out a fair amount.
Right, and he's really not that fast. I think his fielding is benefited from his ability to. He's got a great
To
read.
read the ball off the
Right.
bat, right? Like, yeah, a good first step type of
Mhm.
thing.
Right.
So it's not he's not like getting a late jump and then making up for it with, blazing speed
Right.
in the field.
Yeah.
And that shows on the base paths too. I wonder, does he have options, do you know?
Oh yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
I don't have it pulled up or anything, but I'm assuming he does.
Yeah, because I think that's interesting, given the conversation we're going to have with Russell coming back.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
but
and
anyway,
even like if it if at some point in the near future, I would feel much better about Ian Happ being on this team than Albert Almora. I think Happ brings a lot more. He brings a lot more versatility in the field, like as far as positions he can play, and then I think he brings a ton more at the plate. So, um, I think if at some point Happ is really tearing it up in Iowa, which I haven't looked at his stats recently, but that's a switch I wouldn't mind seeing happen.
happen.
Yeah. But let me get back to Bryant Rizzo real quick, and specifically in this Dodgers series, and even more specifically Wednesday's game. Bryant went 2 for 3 with a double. He hit the ball really hard, I think twice in that game. He scored from first on Rizzo's double, and I would keep an eye on Chris Bryant because I think we could see him go on a real tear. And I think that like the thin Arizona air might be a good place for that to start. So I think, and Rizzo too. Rizzo had a good homestand. He's starting to look more comfortable, and I believe his OBP on this homestand was over 500. So I feel like we're seeing both of those players kind of start to turn things around, and
Which this offense is insane, like with those guys hitting and producing. So imagine if the guys who are currently hitting well
mhm.
and producing are joined by Rizzo and Bryant.
Yeah,
It's
right.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about those players that are performing. So I went over some of the players not performing like they typically would, but let's talk about the players that are carrying the team. And I don't really think I need to tell you, but
Uh-oh.
Javi is doing incredible things, and that game tying homer on Wednesday, that was awesome. And grounding out to first base and ending up safe, uh, unbelievable. And Cubs, if you're listening, please extend Javier Baez, please, please. Like, there's nothing I want
Did-
more right now.
I saw that Mike Mock like a long time ago tweeted to extend Javier Baez, and then he quote tweeted himself and just wrote the exact same thing again the other day. And I liked it so much I just retweeted it.
Yeah, and
But it begs repeating.
it does. It does. And we talked about this last season and in the off season and even, early, after the season started this year, but you knew the potential was there with Javi. But the adjustments that he has made to become the player that he currently is, I think is just remarkable. And here's a stat that went around today, and I think the Cubs tweeted it out. So when he's down 0-2 in the count, which has happened 24 times this season already, Javi is hitting 391. His OBP is 417, and he is slugging 1,000 when he is down 0-2. It's just like,
Well, you got to think the league will adjust to that, and stop throwing anything hittable on 0-2. It befuddles me. Like it's confounding why anything is near the zone with him on 0-2. But we already talked about he's shown himself to be quite the pro in that last season kind of the storyline was we're going to try to get him to chase junk and he
mhm,
will, and
mhm.
he adjusted to that, and so now he's getting more fastballs when it's not as expected. For example, like he's been getting pounded with fastballs on the first pitch of at bats a lot, it seems like,
Mm-hmm.
and he's seen some really hittable pitches go by, but he's really proven that he can adjust. And so I just think like whatever they do, he's going to find a way to just still be Javi.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Yeah, I could talk about him forever, so I'll move on. And then obviously Wilson Contreras, he's hitting over 300, as is Javi, but Contreras has before today's game had a WRC plus of 192. He is almost twice as good as a league average player right now. And so supposedly, Contreras will get a day off in Arizona. And
yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I would like to see Contreras get a few days off in a row. And I think the Cubs have an opportunity twice to do that in the next week. So they play in Arizona on Sunday afternoon. Then they're off Monday. Then they have a 2-game series in Seattle, and then they're off Thursday. So if Contreras could get Sunday and Monday off, I think that would be great. I think just to again.
Yeah, and if Brian Hayward could also, Bryant and Rizzo could also find their way when Contreras has his off day, like that would be great as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think Taylor Davis is going to come in and set the world on fire offensively.
No, I don't think so. And then we obviously have to mention Jason Hayward too. So Hayward has an opt-out after this season.
You think that's why he's playing so well?
Could you imagine if he opts out? Who would have ever thought? I don't think he's going to, but he is slashing again before today's game, slashing 333, 450, 587, a 450 OBP after 4 weeks of the season. And his WRC plus is 167. And I was kind of thinking about it earlier, and I think Hayward has to be the best thing about the 2019 Cubs so far. I think there's a lot of like really good things about this 2019 team, but I think Hayward has to be the biggest surprise, and it's just, on so many levels. Like,
yeah, because you could pick Javi to that, for the best thing, but it's not really surprising. So you add like the surprise factor to it, and yeah, it is the best thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I really hope it continues. I mean, it's just, it would be a pretty incredible to see, to see him turn around essentially a 3-year slump and be able to produce
Figure it
at the
out
plate
and,
like he is. That's amazing. So.
And deliver a ton of value on the back end of his contract. And yeah, like you said, hopefully it's not like a Brian LaHair 2012 situation where he goes dark in the second half of the season.
It doesn't. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was going to say it doesn't feel like
it's always got to be a question.
Right.
It doesn't feel like it, but it's just since we haven't seen him sustain, a lot of success over his entire contract with the Cubs, it's hard to not feel a little pessimistic about him.
Right.
But I love him, man. I want him to do well. Don't hear me wrong on that.
Oh yeah,
anyone.
Sure. Well, and it's so funny because it feels like we kind of like after that first week of the season, and he was hitting into all those double plays. I think he hit into like 5 in the first season, and in that episode, we kind of like basically put the nail in the coffin. Like, man, it just didn't work out. He'll never be what the Cubs thought he was going to be, and it's so disappointing, and I feel so bad for him. And since then, he's turned it around. So,
well, maybe we need to really be negative about some other guys.
Yeah, right. I feel like we did that. Like, well, yeah, we turned the bullpen around too. What do you in the starting pitching?
Yeah. I think we found the magic.
I'm telling you, Chris Bryant's going to just tear it up, and like in Arizona and Seattle, he's just going to go off.
Yeah, but he's been straight garbage. Yeah, so far. No, I don't know.
All right, so I would like to talk with you about Green Chef. Green Chef is a USDA certified organic company that makes eating well easy and affordable with plans to fit every lifestyle. Meal plans include paleo, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, Mediterranean, Heart Smart, Lean and Clean, which, Andy, that's my nickname for you when you're not around, Lean and Clean.
Oh. I don't know about the clean part.
Gluten-free and omnivore. I find Green Chef to be great for our family, especially this time of the year with all of our softball games and practices. It's just easy to fall into bad eating habits, and Green Chef helps us stay on track with our, 2019 goals that we set, in the beginning of the year, and there's the dinner options that work around our lifestyle, not the other way around. So let Green Chef do the meal planning, grocery shopping, and most of the prep for you week after week. Each meal comes with recipes that are quick and easy with step-by-step instructions, chef tips, and photos to guide you along. With Green Chef's wide variety of high-quality, clean ingredients, you can feel great about what you're eating and how it got to your table. With Green Chef, it's easy to eat well and discover new recipes every week that you'll love to cook. Sorry, I'm going to put an edit in there. For $50 off your first box of Green Chef, go to greenchef.us/Ivy. Again, go to greenchef.us/Ivy for $50 off your first box. That's greenchef.com. Dang. That's greenchef.us/Ivy. So, here's an episode we were able to avoid for a while, but I think it was inevitable that we would have to acknowledge it, and that is that Addison Russell has reported to Iowa, and you'll be able to be eligible to join the Cubs on May 3rd, which is next Friday. So if you listen to our off-season episodes, I think you know where each of us stand on Addison Russell. I don't really care what he does or doesn't bring to the team on the field. I just don't like that he's in the organization. And I think that, the best message the Cubs could send, what they could have sent, is to have released him. And I think the next best message they could send right now is to trade him. And I really don't care what the return is. I don't want to see him in a Cubs uniform again. And, but, I don't think that. I think there's a lot of people
doesn't necessarily matter.
Right. Yeah. Because we know what we're going to see. And I'm just not happy about that situation. And I'll say, I thought the article written by Bob Nightingale was just complete trash. I thought it was just awful, terrible article. So Andy, my question to you is, if Addison Russell rejoins the Cubs, do you feel that he should be handed his starting spot back at shortstop?
No, I think he's a backup. Bodie, Zobrist, and Descalso have all played well in his absence, and frankly, they put up better numbers than we've typically seen from Russell. The lineup, I think, is better with Zobrist in it in particular. Not defensively, obviously, but as far as quality at bats, yes. The numbers say that. I don't know. I think that. I think he's a backup infielder.
Yeah. And I think ignoring why he is in the position that he is in, which I don't like to do. I don't like to ignore why he is where he is. If I just look at it from a purely baseball standpoint, I don't really see how he can just reclaim that spot. I've always preferred Javi at second base, but
I like Javi at shortstop, even though the numbers say that Russell is, slightly an upgrade defensively over Javi at shortstop. I feel like Javi has a better chance at making the spectacular plays. I mean, they both have the potential to make the spectacular plays, but I don't know. I think Javi's earned the right to play that position, and that's the position that, he's played most of his life, and I think he's the man at shortstop.
Yeah. I think especially I think especially considering, like you mentioned, that the options that the Cubs have in the infield, not with just Javi, but Bodie, Descalso, and Zobrist. And I think when I look at that list of players, I think Russell has to be last in line there. And I think that the team is at its best defensively when Russell is at shortstop and Javi is at second, but I really don't care.
Like Descalso has played above and beyond his career numbers for sure so far, but he's a veteran and he'll give professional at bats. I've kind of come around on Descalso, and even Bodie a little bit. I don't know. wasn't a huge Bodie fan, which I know that's probably not popular. But yeah, you cannot discount what those guys have done so far. I mean, they've played well.
Well, I don't. Let me clarify for you. I don't think it's that you were not a Bodie fan. I think you just weren't into the hype, the Bodie hype.
Right. It's not that I don't want him to do well or anything like that. Um, but I just never like bought into the hype that, he was sort of like replace Chris Bryant with Bodie type of thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I just think I think I think you can look at it a couple of different ways. I think you can look at, well, sorry, Addison, you put yourself in that position and you can't just, just waltz back in and take over that spot when the team's doing pretty well without you. And so, and then I think the case could be made for the on the field stuff too. I mean, I don't think his offense, I think I would rather have all three of those other players in the lineup rather than Addison Russell right now.
I was kind of thinking like, if they could send Almora down to Iowa and move Hayward over and put Zobrist in right field, then it might be a little bit easier to justify getting Russell into the lineup. But still, like, it's just hard to, I don't know, it's hard to see.
Yeah, Zobrist in right field is a pretty big drop off from Hayward.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But like I said, I like Zobrist. I like the trade off. I think the trade off is worth it, of the diminished defense, for the at bats that Zobrist is able to give, and I like to see him in the leadoff spot, honestly.
Right. Yeah, me too.
I mean, obviously, like, you prefer Zobrist probably to hit lefty, and so obviously, like in a platoon situation, a player like Russell would be preferable probably to right-handed Zobrist, but I don't know. It's we don't get paid to figure all these moving parts out.
Right. And that's where I think, like, overall my opinion is I just never want to see him wear a Cubs uniform again. And that's where
it just seems unnecessary. Yeah, he seems vestigial at this point.
Very vestigial. I gotta look that up. Okay, so let's move on and talk about this upcoming Diamondback series, a team that we're pretty familiar with because the Cubs just played them.
Yeah, man. I mean, here comes Robbie Ray again around the bend in the Pensacola 400.
Speaking of somebody else who takes left turns.
Yeah, so Friday's game is left-handed pitcher Robbie Ray versus Kyle Hendricks. That's an 8:40 Central start. That's one of those late starts, but it's happening on Friday, so stay up late and watch some Cubs, you guys. It's on NBC Sports Chicago Plus. Not minus. It's on the plus. So both these pitchers pitched well last when they pitched in that series last time. Ray shut down the Cubs when they matched up, and Kyle shut down the D-backs. So something must break. A couple things jumped out at me as I was looking at numbers. Chris Bryant is 0 for 12 against Ray. And I thought that was kind of crazy to have a lefty do that well against Chris, even given his current state of affairs offensively. But, I guess that's kind of the reality we're going through with him right now. But I looked up the splits on Ray, and righties are also as a whole just hitting 162 off of Robbie Ray right now. And lefties are significantly higher, although in a more limited sample. So has a little bit of reverse splits going on right now. So maybe that'll mean, the lefties in the Cubs lineup will be able to do some damage against him. But I'm hoping Kyle can continue trending upward. And that last start was, man, holy cow. They only 3 hits to go with 11 strikeouts. So, man, if that is the beginning of a trend, feel free to ride that one, Kyle. As we now have Lester back and seemingly, Quintana has found his way. I think that this rotation could really continue to set the pace for the team.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Saturday's game, that's a 7:10 p.m. Central start. And the game is on ABC 7. So that's strange because isn't that 5 o'clock Arizona time? That is a weird time to start a game. But
Yeah, that is a little odd.
I think, aren't they 2 hours behind us right now? I think they are.
Yeah, well, yeah, 2 hours.
Yeah. It's strange. Anyway, it's on ABC 7, and the Cubs
Wait,
didn't.
maybe it is Mountain Time.
See, they don't change for daylight savings
Right.
time, so I always forget which one they are.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so the Cubs didn't face Zach Godley in their last series, and that is who will be taking the mound for the Diamondbacks. As a team, they have 48 plate appearances, the Cubs do, against Godley, and they are hitting 250, 368, 292 against him. No one has homered off of him, and the player with the largest number of at-bats is Schwarber. He has 9 at-bats.
How did that happen?
Yeah, and he has 3 base hits.
Did he lead off in that? You know what? This is probably from the Schwarber leadoff experiment days.
Yeah, or I was thinking like, I don't know, Kyle Schwarber going to Arizona makes me nervous because that's where his injury happened in 2016. But
yeah, that's not going to happen.
No. So Schwarber has 9 at bats. He has 3 base hits, including a double, and he struck out 5 times. So kind of mixed results there. And so, yeah, Godley is a righty, so look for a lefty-heavy lineup on Saturday, I would guess. Yu Darvish has faced the Diamondbacks just in his last outing on April 20th. That's who he faced. So you'll remember he gave up 2 first-inning home runs and then settled down. He went 5, gave up three earned runs on 5 hits. He struck out 7 and walked 3. So when it comes to this game, who knows? I just could not begin to predict what Darvish is going to do in a specific start. He's looked bad at times. He's looked good at times. But I think most of the time he just looks meh, like,
right.
I don't know. I don't know. So I guess we'll see. Again, as I said, I don't know if it was the last episode or the one before, like Darvish starts are the most interesting Cubs games for me right now because I'm just really interested in seeing what he does.
Yeah, his demeanor, what his stuff looks like. I mean, there's all these different factors that you have to wait and see what it's gonna look like.
Yep.
Sunday's game is righty Luke Weaver. You think he's in the wrong profession? Like he should be making clothing or something? Like how people's last names used to signify what they did. Johnny Fisher or.
How do you know what he does on his free time, Andy?
Jim Accountant. Yeah, maybe he does a lot of weaving. He's a basket weaver and he's a pitcher for the Diamondbacks. But anyway, so he he goes against Jose Quintana at 3:10 Central on WGN. And I already talked plenty about Quintana. It's the 3rd great outing in a row for Quintana last time, so he's on a roll. I look for that roll to continue. Obviously, I think teams will start to try to come up with a new plan given his increased usage of the changeup. And so perhaps we'll see some adjustment on the part of the way hitters attack him. But I think that Q is a pro who can then in turn, make some adjustments. So Weaver has pitched well lately, but many current Cubs have lit him up before, although in small samples. Baez is hitting 571 with off of Weaver. Rizzo is hitting 636. Zobrist 667, wow. And Hayward 417. So obviously there's at least one game against Weaver where just the team went off. Mm-hmm. But all these numbers are off of like double digits in the teens number of at bats. So they've done some damage against this guy in the past, but like I said, he's been gotten in a little bit of a groove lately. So we'll have to see what happens with that.
Yeah, should be an interesting series. So.
Yeah.
All right, so that will do it for this episode. Whoops, sorry, I forgot to start my music. All right, so that will do it for this episode. We want to thank all of the Patreon supporters who help keep this podcast going. We have some news contributors to thank, but I didn't have time to look up the fun facts on their towns and cities, so we'll have a few more for you on Sunday's episode. I don't know if you saw this, Andy, but in the Patreon Facebook group, people were saying that they were going to cancel their pledge and then restart so they could hear fun facts about their towns. So once I get caught up with current new supporters, I'll just kind of like go through and, I don't know, do as many as I can over the course of a season. And I kind of enjoy looking up facts on other towns. So
yeah, totally.
So thank you for downloading and listening. And until Sunday night, go Cubs. All right. Did you hear an episode title?
I
wrote down vestigial or whatever you said. I don't know. All I did was write down the word.
Yeah.
But it was also in reference to Adam.
What about something with the whole Weaver thing?
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, it could be the parrot thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that would be good, too.
Well, when I'm editing, I'll listen for something.
Okay.
Cool.
Alrighty.
All right. I'm going to finish. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.